Stimulus discussions are revving up again, and I think Congress is really feeling the pressure for various reasons. Most of the benefits that was provided under the CARES Act is about to run out at the end of the month. And of course, some of it already ran out. So in this video, I want to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about the $900 billion bipartisan agreement that was unveiled today, Nancy Pelosi and Stephen Mnuchin's discussion that they had today. And then I'll share with you what Federal Reserve Chairman Powell had to say about the economy and the stimulus package. If you're new to my channel, I am Tanya Taylor, founder and CEO of Grow Your Wealth TV. My channel is all about personal finance, so credit, budget, debt, investing, and protecting your wealth so that you can retire worry-free. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell so that you can be notified whenever I post new contents. Now let's jump right in. So fresh off the press, today there was a $908 billion bipartisan agreement that was unveiled. And the idea of this agreement is that it's supposed to be a bridge between the McConnell $500 billion skinny bill and Nancy Pelosi's $2.2 trillion bill, both of which got nowhere. And there has actually been no discussions since the election. Now, I can already tell you that since the unveiling of this bill, Mitch McConnell has said that he's spoken to White House officials about what Donald Trump would sign into law and says he plans to offer potential solutions to GOP senators and get their feedback. He also said the following: "We just don't have time to waste." And then he continued by saying that most likely what will happen is that the pandemic relief provision will be included in the package that will be passed on December 11th. Now, if you are following what's happening, the government had a bill that was passed that allowed them to continue to operate, but on December 11th, they're going to run out of money. Therefore, they must pass some kind of legislation. So what McConnell was alluding to was that some sort of stimulus relief would be included in that bill. Now, that's a positive. However, the one thing that we want to be aware of is that December 11th is literally less than 2 weeks away. And the way that Congress works, everything takes forever. So hopefully they will be able to put something in that bill that's going to be helpful to the millions of people who have fallen into poverty. So before I jump into the contents of this $908 billion bill, I do want to mention that Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin also met on Tuesday. And this is for the first time since the election. And Pelosi said Mnuchin conveyed to her after they had the phone call that he will review a proposal that she and Senator Chuck Schumer sent over to him on Monday, and that he would also review this $908 billion bill that was unveiled. She did not provide any details of what was in the plan that was sent over. So more to come on that. The one positive, I guess, if we can take any positive from this, is that there is a sort of pressure on everyone in Congress to pass something. There has been studies done, and it shows that since the pandemic, over 8 million people have fallen into poverty. And that's a pretty severe number. A lot of people, not only can they not pay their rent, but they barely have food to put on their table. I think we can sum it up very well in what Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia said. And he was one of the members who has discussed the package, which he calls an interim bill until President-elect Biden gets into office. He was quoted on the Squawk Box as saying, "If there's one thing I'm hearing uniformly, it's Congress does not leave town for the holidays, leaving the country and the economy adrift with all the initial CARES Act program running out." So what is in this stimulus bill? Well, the first thing I want to say is that unfortunately, it does not have that $1,200 stimulus check that so many people found beneficial when it was issued to them earlier this year. If this bill were to be passed in whatever form, that's one thing that people would not be able to look forward to. The way the bill is broken down is for the largest components, you have $180 billion going to cover weekly unemployment benefits, and that would be until March 2021. And instead of the $600 that people were getting when the CARES Act was passed, they would be getting $300 per week. Then $160 billion would go to state and local government. And that's one of the areas that was very controversial in the Nancy Pelosi $2.2 billion bill, because the Republican felt that the Democrats were trying to bail out states that mismanaged their money. Then $45 billion would go to transportation. It's unclear what the breakdown of that would be, whether or not it would be going to airline or it would be to public transportation or a combination of both. Small businesses would be a beneficiary of this. They would be allocated $288 billion, and that would go towards the Paycheck Protection Program. So that would be a big positive for small businesses, especially going into the holiday. Then 16 billion would go to vaccine distribution, testing, and contract tracing, and 82 billion to education. 25 billion would be allocated for housing assistance. And then there would be funds that would be allocated to rental assistance, childcare, and broadband, and other additional items. It's important to note that there was $500 billion that was left over from the CARES Act. And therefore, if that gets put towards this new bill, essentially what the Congress would be coming up with is an additional $400 billion, give or take. So not that significant. It does not seem, however, that there is appetite on the broader Congress to pass this, as evidenced by Mitch McConnell's comments. And then in addition to that, we know that Nancy Pelosi and Stephen Mnuchin are still in discussions. So it will be interesting to see what comes of this $900 billion proposal. But again, I think the positive about that is there is now pressure and there is the ongoing discussion. And then we get back to the whole point of whether or not lawmakers can craft a plan that can get through all of Congress in time for the end of the year, let alone December 11th, when they need to fund the government. President-elect Joe Biden says he approves of providing immediate relief to Americans before he takes office, but he added that once he takes office, additional relief would be needed. What is unclear is whether or not he supports this $900 billion bill. Now let's talk about the economists, because they have a lot to say about the economy and how it operates and what could be detrimental. Today, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell testified before the Senate Banking Committee, and what he said was that the fiscal stimulus deserves a lion's share of the credit for helping the economy, and that it may be that we need more on that front. So it's also another nudge to Congress that they need to do something, and they need to do so as soon as possible. This is not the first time that Jerome Powell has spoken about how important it is for Congress to pass some sort of stimulus package. And then, as many of you probably already know, Janet Yellen was selected by President-elect Joe Biden to replace Stephen Mnuchin as Treasury Secretary. And this is a wonderful news because Janet would be the first woman to hold that role. She was previously the chair of the Federal Reserve Board and viewed very highly in terms of some of the work that she was able to do. As discussion continues, I will keep you up to date. So don't forget to like and comment. That really helps the algorithm so that others like you can see my video. And also to hit the notification bell so that you are alerted when I have new content that I post. And also share it with your friends and family. I would also love to hear your thoughts about this new proposal and whether or not you think it makes sense. What do you think about Americans not getting a direct stimulus before year end, knowing that so many people have fallen into poverty? There is just so much going on right now, and so many people are hurting. So I will definitely keep you posted on what's happening with the stimulus bill.